Back at you with another Goji box. And this one I got from a seller, Mallow20 on Mercari. And I'm really excited about this. He's a good seller at MALO20 on Mercari. Check out his site. Thanks to him, he got this to me promptly. And it's been one that I wanted for quite some time. It's a special one. So let's get him out of the box. All right, so we got some wild packaging here. Shout out to you, Mallow20, for trying to protect this as much as you can here. Look at this. This looks like something from Home Goods or Bed Bath & Beyond, man. Bed Bath and Godzilla. All right, let's get him out. All right, so we got the Super 7 Toho Ultimates. Godzilla -1 minus color. And what a beautiful box right off the bat. You have a window to see the Goji. You're going to have a window on top to look down at the Goji. It's a beautiful shade of white and black and gray with an awesome picture of Godzilla -1 on the front. You're going to have his body on the side here with some gray and white, beautiful markings. You're going to have the Godzilla -1 logo on the back with Godzilla right there, Super 7, and Godzilla -1 on the side. An absolutely beautiful box in every way, shape, or form. Of course, you're going to get the extra head here, the open mouth head. And wow, you know, I've been wanting a Super 7 for a while now. I'm definitely a fan of Godzilla minus color, of any figure that's minus color. I'm a sucker for black and white Godzillas. So this immediately became on my radar, and I wanted it for quite some time. I saw it on Mercari for a fairly good price, and I snatched it up. I paid $100 for it, you know, which to me, you know, this is limited to 1,500. It's a 1,500 run. So, yeah, the price of this is just going to shoot up and skyrocket. Not that many of them are out there. So it's nice to have a limited edition, basically. So, awesome. Very simple box, and I just love it. I love the shape of the box, too. You know, it's not just a regular square. It's kind of indented in a little bit. Very, very nice. And you can see the Goji on the inside, who looks really good, even straight through the box. So let's get him out of there. Okay, so just to show you the full packaging, you know, I always like to show you the clamshell that it comes in. And you can see, you know, you have a section for Godzilla's tail here. You have the extra open mouth head and the Goji himself. Awesome. Okay, so straight out of the box here, and I'm super, super impressed with this. And maybe I'm biased, you know, like, because every figure has flaws, you know what I mean? But, although, you know, not too many flaws on this to me, but I'm biased because I just absolutely love the design of Godzilla -1. I think it's such a badass looking Godzilla. And, I love the minus color figures. Give me a charcoal Godzilla any day of the week and I'll eat it up, man. And this is just very, very nice looking to me. You're going to have, this is the closed mouth head of the figure. The eyes on this figure for both the closed and the open mouth head are just okay. You know what I mean? They're definitely not spectacular. The teeth are much better for both. I actually really like the way the teeth are done on this figure. And I appreciate the detail this figure has. You know? About the only flaw, you know what I mean? Like, one of the only flaws to me that this figure has would be, and it was pointed out already in other reviews, that the middle section here is a different kind of plastic from the rest of it. From here down to here, that piece. and it's like a glossier or shinier plastic, but it doesn't really affect anything to me. You know what I mean? To me, everything, blends into each other. I like the paint job on this. I know some people maybe didn't care for it. I happen to think it's really nice. I like it to look a little bit glossy, which it does. You know what I mean? Which is why ultimately that the midsection does blend into it, because the rest of the paint job is fairly glossy in other places, like right there on the legs and stuff. And yeah, it looks glossy from the front on the chest going down. So I like that. You know what I mean? I don't really think that that's neither here nor there to me. Maybe they felt that having that kind of plastic at the midsection helps the overall figure function better. You know what I mean? The other flaw was I'm not too crazy about how it was packaged. I already had it heated up, and you can see here it's just a little bent, but it's not. I straightened most of them out. But you do have to heat up. These can get kind of bent, so I heated them up with a hair dryer, and they and shape them back into place. And they will all go back into place when you heat them up with a hair dryer. So, but this is it's so nice. It's nice to have, this is a bigger sized figure here. I think this is in like maybe the 8 or 9 inch scale, maybe 9 inch scale. So it's nice to have a Godzilla -1 with this kind of detail at this size. And I love it. I love the dorsal plates. I love the way they look all the way to the tip of the tail. I think the tail looks very nice. We'll pose that and show you how the tail functions. But I think this is quite nice. It's like having a Haya and SH Monster Arts kind of mixed into one kind of. Or like Haya, Playmates, and SHM kind of crammed into one. And that's what you got with the Super 7. But this is really nice. And the fact that, it was a 1,500 run is pretty cool and makes it special, in my opinion. And also, I really loved Godzilla Minus Color, the movie. I thought, the care that they went into to doing that, to really going scene by scene, and tirelessly working on that to make it pop and make the shots look nice, rather than just hitting one button over the whole movie. I thought that was really cool that they did that. And, you could tell in the quality of it when you watch Godzilla Minus Color, which it looks so cool in that movie. I've seen that movie every way you could see it by now, and I really like Minus Color. I keep going back to that because it looks so rich, and it takes you back to the past. But yeah, this looks fantastic, man. I'm very, very happy to have this. I actually really like the tough looking face on this. And like I said, it's loaded with detail. I love the way the feet look. I think, if you just look at it, the paint job is nice. You know what I mean? It's good for a Minus Color figure. Nothing wrong with that. And it blends in at the waist. Yeah, okay, so it's like darker in certain parts, but, that's the point. I like that. It brings it to life. Yeah, and you can see he's loaded with detail on his legs. The skin looks great. The chest looks great. I really, really love the elbow spikes here. I think they look awesome. And then the spikes on the top of his head, the way the top of his head and his brows look are amazing. You can see the very nice work on the teeth, the individual teeth right there. They look awesome. And yeah, it's a very, very nice looking figure. Of course, you're going to get the open mouth head. So we'll look further into that when we put it on, when we pose them. So But impressive looking figure. So let's pose him now and see what he could do. Okay, that's a really nice pose, man. Love it. So what this pose is going to basically show you is how you're going to get a nice rock right there at the torso. Because it's very interesting the way this torso works. It just easily rocks back and forth and side to side. You get some nice turn to the side on the head. So you're getting good movement at the head and torso. You get, of course, you could see some nice bend here at the elbows. And you're not going to get as tremendous amount of movement on the legs as you would think, but it's good enough. And the tail is going to give you about that much curvature right there. So this pose will demonstrate, you know, the curvature of the tail, the head, and the torso. Now, yeah, that to me looks great. If you're going to pose it on your shelf like that, that's an awesome pose. One thing that I don't like here is because of the way the torso works, if you do turn it to the side and make it go down, you're going to get this shininess here, right? That it just covers up when he's straight and back. So if you turn him to the side, you're getting that. Which, whatever. I mean, we've seen things like that on other figures, even on SH Monster Arts, you know, so. But, you know, that is. But if you just pose it like that, you don't even see it, you know. So if you want to consider that a flaw, yeah. I really like the way this thing just rocks side to side and back and forth like that. So that to me, like, is the functionality of it is nice, but you do see some smooth stuff rather than Godzilla's skin underneath when you rock it down. They might have done a better job with that, but to me that's really neither here nor there. I think this is a very impressive looking figure. I think the paint job is good, and I think for its size, it has some nice articulation and posability and looks really good, and I'm happy to own it. So let's pose him some more. Okay, boom, look at that. What a beautiful tail off the ground pose that is. And you see you could way to bend the tip of the tail right there. Very, very nice. But look at that. This is the open mouth head, which you could see here. I happen to really like the way the teeth and tongue are done on that. You have a nice like black tongue with the crease in the middle there. And the teeth just look really good. Once again, the eyes are just, you know, okay. They're serviceable. They're there, whatever. They're not the greatest. But the teeth and tongue and the inside of the mouth are fairly well done. But look at that, man. Look at the way you could turn the torso and just balance it with the nice tail off the ground pose. That looks awesome, man. Fantastic, bro. I love that stuff, bro. This is, yeah, this, you know, the articulation on this figure is pretty cool. Okay, so now I just want to show you how high up he can look, which is really pretty good. You know what I mean? Yeah, you could lift the head fairly high. If you see here, it's quite nice articulation on the arms here. You know, they go out, they go all the way around. You got swivel on the claws, which, by the way, look great. You know, that's a highlight of this figure. So I forgot to mention that. They look nice, and you can grip with them. Like, I see no reason why Kong's axe wouldn't fit in there or something. You could grip something in that. You could put a plane. You could put a drone in there. We'll do that later. I'll bring out one of the drones or something from Playmates from Energized Godzilla. We'll see how it fits in his hand. But look at that, man. That looks pretty nice. You could kind of set it up doing one of Godzilla's famous poses. And, yeah, I think that looks quite nice. And, you know, like I said, you know, the paint job is good. You know what I mean? It's definitely a solid paint job. He's just painting over two different kinds of, material. You could see it. You could see the harder plastic there. But I think that adds to the figure, and I think that, it blends in quite nicely. When that, like, the shiny stuff is not exposed. You know what I mean? But that looks quite good. Now that looks absolutely really good. A nice running pose, and that's shows you about how far back you could kick the legs. So you could definitely bring them back far enough to create a nice running pose. The legs and the feet work pretty damn good. You get a weird swivel at the feet there, but yeah, they allow for function. The legs allow for function regardless. So, and that's a cool running pose. And you can have it in that famous Godzilla -1 pose when he first gets into Ginza and he just roars at the people on the train. That looks awesome. Which you could do this quite nice with this figure with the bend at the elbow. And when you do that, those elbow spikes look really, really nice. That looks amazing, man. And look how menacing the face looks, too, in this position, in this pose. Very, very cool. And you could really kind of create that scene from Godzilla -1, from the posters, from the ads. Yeah. You see him looking like that with the tail in front. Excellent, man. And that looks really good like that. Yeah. So, the figure has a few flaws, but it's not enough to hold the figure back. And it shouldn't be enough for you to want to purchase it. I understand maybe if it was a little cheaper, people would feel better about it. But it's a big figure. It's like an 9-incher maybe. I don't know. I'm gonna compare it. I'll do some scaling comparisons, but that's why you're paying more for it, because of the size of it. And because it looks really nice. It's a really detailed figure, So, and when you get a figure that allows you, articulation-wise to recreate scenes like this, that's a win. Wow, okay, so that's like really one of the better foot stomping poses I've seen in quite some time. And, this articulation has flow to it, meaning everything works in unison to allow for this very, very nice foot stomping pose. The torso, you can see right there, the way the top of the legs work, the knee and the feet, and even the arms, and the way the tail helps with the balancing. Or the way that you could swivel the feet and just get it to balance perfectly and get that foot bent so you're really coming down with it. And the way the torso rocks to the side and the head looks to the side and down, it all works in unison to give you a good foot stomping pose. That to me is the sign of a good figure. You know what I mean? And this to me has some pretty good underrated articulation. It's very nice. Okay, so we're going to get a swimming pose. It's not going to be the greatest because the way the tail is doesn't allow the tail to just go flat straight. The head can't go flat straight too, but it gets up there enough to where, you make a semi-swimming pose possible like that. And that's not too bad. And it just looks nice anyway. But, yeah, so you can't, that's one of the negatives is you can't really bend the tail all the way straight because of the way it's set up. But whatever, man. Everything's got its nitpicks. Okay, so now here I just want to show you how wide you could get the legs. It's not that wide. They do move out. And then with the help of the swivel at the feet, you could make it look pretty wide. But that's a really nice pose. Another thing that I wanted to point out with the spikes on the side of his chin here, if you could see those in the back, how very well done they are. I really, really like that look. Both heads have it, but I feel like it looks nicer here. It's just a really nice effect on the side of his chin. Awesome, man. And this is just a a sick pose right here. It really just brings the figure to life. I love that, man. And I really, really like the claws, you know? Look at that. They really look well done. One of the best sets of -1 claws I've seen. I really, really like the shape of them and how sharp and fantastic looking the nails look here. They're painted very well. That's just a nice pose. Look at that, just to give you a better look at the articulation right there. You could almost have it where Godzilla's kneeling on one leg. Look how far back that goes. Look at how nice that looks. And the curvature of the tail, how nice that looks. And how the head adds into it. That looks really awesome right there, man. You know, I think you're paying a high price because of the detail that's really in here, which you could, in this pose, you can really see is popping out. Look at the fantastic detail on his head, man. You know what I mean? Look at that, the top of his head, the side spikes, the teeth. That looks very, very nice to be able to get, and the feet function nice, like to be able to get Godzilla. Yeah, look, well, you could get him on one knee, but the feet really function. Awesome, man. Look at that. I love that. Fantastic. And I'll show you right here how far out the arms go. So you could get him into a pose like that, which is really, really nice. Yeah. Yeah, you could pose this thing. To show you the balance this thing has, you could get it into a 1 foot on the ground, tail off the ground pose. Fantastic. Look at that. So when you have balance like that, you have posability. Okay, you could also get Godzilla into a quite nice crawling on all fours pose. Not that Godzilla -1 did that, but we got a decent one here. Looks okay. Just the fact that you could do it means something, you know what I mean? And I like that, even though some poses don't always look better than others in certain figures. So, but this can achieve a tail off the ground pose if you so desire. Yeah, you could achieve some really expressive poses with this figure. I like the way this one looks. And I love the way you could turn the head. You could turn it with the neck or without. And this pose here will give you a nice view of his teeth and tongue. I love the way the tongue is painted. That looks fantastic, man. Of course, you can see the detail on the inside. The eyes are the eyes here. They're not terrible, you know what I'm saying? By all means, nothing is terrible about this figure. That's really the bottom line. Like, could there have been improvements? Yes. You know what I mean? Could it have been a little bit of a less of a price? Yeah. Is it still a high quality, good figure? Yep. All of those things. You know what I mean? So we could still enjoy this figure. Without a doubt. We don't have to feel bad about purchasing this. And I'm going to have to tell you, if you could get it for $100 right now, get it. Because I'm seeing it going for more than that. It's going up, not down, you know? People are always going to want -1 figures in the future. Believe me. That looks really nice. Yeah, I really love how expressive this figure is. You know, with the weight. The articulation makes you really, like, get Godzilla in these, like, whip around, turning to the side type of poses that just look dynamic and would really look nice posed on your shelf that way. That looks great. Here's another looking up pose. I love that. The functionality of the head and neck on this is really, really nice. That's something to be said about that, you know. And you can, you know, I saw a couple reviews that say the legs don't move that wide, but they kind of do. You know, you kind of can get them in wide stances just, you know, based on the way the knees and feet also work. The more you use the tail, the better it gets, by the way. If you want to take a hair dryer to it to speed up that process, go ahead. Definitely take a hair dryer to straighten your spines because mine were quite curved. And I took a hair dryer and pretty much There's one I got to do a little bit more, but I pretty much straightened all the ones that were curved. There's just this one in the middle that I got to get it straight and it'll be okay, but it's pretty straight now. So just note that the packaging is a little rough when you get it. So if you do get it, I would recommend just going right to the hairdryer before you review it, before you do anything else. Correct the spines, get them straight. But anyway, this pose is just meant to show you how he can look up, and that's quite nice. Yeah, here's another really cool pose just to show off the articulation on this. I like this. You know, you can really get him into these, like, that's a very, very expressive pose. This is an impressive looking figure. I really like, the more I pose it, the more I appreciate the articulation on it. It actually looks quite nice. So this is about as far down as you're getting him to look. I like the way the neck kind of slides down and the head also looks down. So like the neck is like that and just slides down and the head moves like that. So you could just work both of them and get a really nice looking down pose. That's nice functionality right there. Awesome. Also like how you could kind of rock the torso to one side and the head the other way to really create an expressive pose. Like he's leaning down that way, but then he's turning that way. And that looks really nice. Look at how the feet move. Wow. As the review goes on, I'm liking this figure even more and more because I think the articulation is quite nice on it. So, yeah, it's not, this figure is not disappointing at all. It's really, look at that. That's dope, man. So cool. And you can see here the claws can grip. So you could put a plane, a drone in there. Excellent, man. That looks really cool. Yeah, fantastic. The claws are a highlighted this feature of this figure. And it's great that you could grip with them. And that looks really cool, man. Yeah. You could basically make them hold Kong's decapitated head. Awesome. Okay, so now let's just do a comparison with its SH Monster Arts counterpart here. So you can obviously see the size difference. Also the difference in the paint job, because the SH Monster Arts is a much more matte style, while this is a lot glossier. But just to show you here, this is close to 8 inches. The Monster Arts is 6 and change, almost 7. You know, but that's the difference. This is an 8-inch figure, but they look really nice, both of them. Now we're going to do a comparison with the Bandai Movie Monster series Godzilla -1. I don't have the minus color in the Movie Monster series, but I do want to get that. But there you go with as far as the size. And here's how he scales with the King series, which is obviously much bigger. King series, you're looking at about almost 10 inches. So, yeah. Really nice, though. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up, folks. I'm definitely going to recommend this figure. I like it. I really like the way the bottom of the tail moves. It gives you a lot of, you know, that's the reason why you get a lot of different poses out of the tail, is because the way the bottom of the articulation, bottom of the tail articulation is. So that just looks very nice. But this is a solid figure. So you're getting a fairly nice sculpt, a good paint job, good articulation, and minor flaws. I'll take that any day of the week. And, you know, it's a fairly rare figure, too. So if you could get it now for a decent price, now's the time to move on it. So I feel like I got it, you know, for a reasonable price at the right time. And I'm really, really liking it. And I love Godzilla -1. Still, I'm going to say this, you know, every day of the week forever, that Godzilla -1 is without a doubt one of the best Godzilla designs of all time. Look at that. You know, I don't think you know, I've heard Godzilla -1 figures get a lot of heat against them. And I like all of them, you know. So that's all that really matters, is your own personal enjoyment out of it. And I think this is a very, very solid figure all around by Super 7. My first, you know, Ultimates Super 7 figure. So I wanted to see what it was all about, and I'm glad that I took the plunge. All right, like the goddamn video, subscribe to the channel. If you like what you're looking at, go out and get you some Super 7 minus colored Goji. And I'll be back at you with another one soon. Peace.